All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time today, Brad. You've won a championship. What uh, what drives you to just keep fighting for more and more of these championships?
Wow, deep question. Out of the hole, Mark Garrow. What drives you? Man, well, first off, I don't like to suck, so that's a good thing that drives me. If you're going to do something, do it well. And winning races and going for a championship is, in my opinion, doing something well. So that drives me. So I don't want to embarrass myself. But beyond that, building a team, seeing them come together, being a part of it, and the camaraderie, that's pretty darn cool. I like to see other people come together, and I like to be a part of it. So there's a lot of things that drive me, and those are probably the two biggest, not the only ones. I think in a lot of ways I've been blessed, much as many of us have, to be here at this time and point in my life and my career and in the history of the world where we have the opportunities we have. So why not make the most of them? As I told my team, I met with them yesterday in a socially distanced gathering, and I told them, at the end of this 10 weeks, someone will be holding the championship trophy. Why not us? And I still feel that way, and that's my approach. Why not us? We can do it just as well as anybody. And I'm ready for that challenge. I want to do it as a team, and I think that's exactly what we're going to do.
Thank you.
No problem, Mark.
Our next question is going to come from Bob Cockris. Go ahead with the question, Bob.
Yeah, Brad, I don't know if that socially distanced gathering was in person, but if it was there any hesitation to do anything in person over the next 10 weeks as far as trying not to get COVID? And do you think drivers will be any more cautious or any more quiet about any symptoms?
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a lot of hesitation to get together as a group. I wanted to do lunches and dinners. And I love to eat with people. I like to eat to begin with. I like to eat with people because, it's a different atmosphere and you can talk more freely. And so to not be able to do that with my team's really let down. It used to be probably 8 or 10 times a year I'd gather the whole team together and have a team lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever it might be. And so not doing that, it's kind of a bummer. It's one of the things that I really enjoy about being a race car driver is being around the team. Like I said, that camaraderie. So yeah, we stopped all that because, when you eat, you can't have face masks and all that kind of stuff. So that's the big bummer. But, what was the other part of your question? I'm sorry, Bob.
Do you think drivers will be any more cautious over these next 10 weeks? And do you think just like any injury, or do you think they're going to hesitate to even say anything unless it's bad?
Well, I don't know how we can be any more cautious than we already are. I basically fly in an airplane almost by myself. Every once in a while, I have another driver to ride with me and sit way behind me in the back row. I get on the Penske airplane and I've flown with them, and everybody's got masks on and nobody's eating or drinking, and you have to keep your mask on the whole time. Things like that. And then when I get to the racetrack, I'm basically locking myself in a bus by myself for 3 or 4 hours until it's race time. And then I get in the car to race, and I'm by myself for another 3 or 4 hours. So I'm not really sure, other than just doing nothing, what more precautions we could take. So I feel pretty good about that. As far as someone getting sick and hiding it, I don't know. I don't believe necessarily at this moment that the testing is strong enough for me to have confidence that somebody does or doesn't have it more times than not. So I guess it's a really open-ended question. I don't know if I have an answer for it.
Our next question will come from Jenna Fryer. Go ahead with the question, Jenna.
Hey, Brad. Asking you from a really big picture. I know you're good at looking at things this way. NASCAR races are events. NASCAR weekends are events. It doesn't look like there's going to be that same sort of access for sponsors, for teams, for everyone until there's a vaccine. What does it take away from a typical NASCAR race or weekend, particularly now that the playoffs are starting?
Well, it definitely takes some things away. I think it also adds some opportunities. So, it's hard to create a scorecard as to, negative versus positive as the end result. But I think it's important to recognize that there's some gains and losses for us as an industry here. If we start with the losses, Jenna, kind of like you're asking, it's hard to have those intimate relationships with sponsors that are so key to a race team's success and survival with the current business model and climate. We want to be able to host them. We want them to be able to host their customers. I want to be able to connect and have those conversations. People like to do business with people. They don't want to do business with companies. They want to do business with people. And more often than not, what that means is connecting with them in unique ways, whether that's in person or at events or experiences. And that's one of the things that sports and entertainment offer for businesses. And so to lose that, it's hurtful to the business model, not just for NASCAR, but for all sports. So I think that's certainly a loss. I think there's probably some gains for the sport in all this. We're operating much more efficiently than we were beforehand. And that's, doing a couple things. One, it's reducing costs to the car owners and teams. Two, it's reducing a lot of waste. There was a lot of waste previously that's being cut out with this system. So I'm proud of those things. And probably the third thing is there's significantly less competition, which if we're doing everything right as a sport, we should be able to capitalize on with respect to ratings and so forth, consumption digitally. So I think it's hard to create a scoreboard and say positive versus negative end result, but I also think it's important not to just focus on the things we've lost, but also recognize some of the things we've gained.
Thank you, Brad.
No problem.
The next question is going to come from Kelly Crandall. Go ahead with the question, Kelly.
Hey, Brad. With the regular season that Kevin and Denny had and the playoff point advantage they have over everybody else, does it feel almost like everyone's racing for 2 spots potentially in the Final Four instead of all 4?
Well, okay, they got a lot of bonus points. There ain't no doubt about that. That's going to serve them really, really well as it goes through the rounds. But I'll tell you, I don't know if there's enough bonus points in the world to get you through that second round. That second round is hairy. Talladega's going to be hairy. Roval's going to be hairy. You're going to want to go to Vegas and win. And the way the format's set up, it's intentionally designed to not allow somebody to just coast through it, no matter how good the regular season is. So I suspect that at least one of those 2 guys will find themselves in a spot at some point in time, Kelly, where they didn't want to be.
Our next question will come from Holly Kane. Go ahead with the question, Holly.
Thank you. Hey, Brad. How are you? My question is actually about the first round. And those are 3 tracks that I think typically, if you look at the schedule, are some of the, shall we say, most action-packed that you guys compete on. Could you talk about the 3 in the opening round, with certainly with Bristol being where it is in the position?
Sure, Holly. Well, I think first off, I'll say that I really like the change made to the playoff schedule this year. It's different than what we've had in years past. But I think it's different in a good way. It's in some ways more challenging. In a lot of ways, in my opinion, more exciting to have these combination of events put together the way they are. I think you look at the finale of each round and, Bristol. Well, first off, the start of the regular season at Daytona, I've been advocating for that for 6 years now. And I think it paid off in spades. We had a great race Saturday and a great run to the playoffs, accordingly knowing that Daytona was going to be the last race and uncertainty that comes from that. But then I look at the cutoff rounds, like I was saying here just a minute ago, with Bristol, one of the most famed NASCAR tracks on the circuit. It's just so fitting that it's one of the cutoffs. Then, of course, you have the Roval, a track that, I think most of the drivers would say makes the hair stand up on the back of their necks. and then Martinsville, the track that's been around for really going on not quite 80 years, something like that. It is 80 years, or 72. Gotta do my math real quick, fingers and toes. But anyway, long story short, what a terrific playoff schedule. Much better than any format I think we've seen to date with respect to the actual schedule. So I'm really pleased to see our sport make those kind of adjustments. But looking at the first round is your tried and true NASCAR tracks, Darlington, South Carolina. Tough track, 500 miles, one of the most historical events in all sports. And then you throw in there Richmond, which is again back to one of the more traditional short track beating and banging NASCAR races in Bristol. That first round is it's a power round with tracks that I think should have been in the playoffs from day one, but we can't live in the past. Got to look to the future, and I'm glad that they're in now.
Thanks, Brad.
No problem.
Our next question will come from Gabe McDonald. Go ahead with the question, Gabe.
Hey Brad, you mentioned it's going to be a tough track. I know you went there a couple of years ago, but what does it really take to have success there?
Well, to be good at Darlington, you got to run up against the wall as close as you can for 500 miles and not hit it while still going super, super fast. The tires are falling off. You're wearing out, super hot outside. Just got to be perfect. Pit crew's got to be perfect. You have a lot of pit stops because tires wear so much. You got to hit that. My team last, or 2 years ago when I won the race, great pit stops. Propelled us to the win. And then 4 or 5 years ago, we dominated the entire race, lost it on the last pit stop. It's got to be perfect. I've had some great cars there that I've screwed up. I bounced one off the wall while running up in front and having a chance to win, and kind of ruin our chance. So, I just think of it as a track that you just have to be absolutely perfect to have a shot.
Our next question will come from Dustin Long. Go ahead with the question, Dustin.
Thank you. Brad, I'm curious with what you talked to your team about yesterday when you said, why not us? And I guess my guess is that was not a off-the-cuff comment. That's probably something you thought about beforehand. And I'm curious because to me, I guess I would say, why not us seems like a maybe a weaker type of statement if you're trying to motivate, especially when you talked earlier this year about how you've silently had one of your best years. So I'm curious on the mindset of that approach, or maybe there's something I'm missing or I'm not aware of in the why not us, as opposed to let's go out and just kick everybody's ass.
Well, I think it's it's probably driven some things that are hard for me to explain verbally, but I'll give it my best shot here, Dustin. I think I've been in this position now 7 of the last 8 years in the playoffs, or really 8 of the last 9 years. And I brought it home once, which is great. I'm super proud of that. It's more than I thought I'd ever accomplish in my entire life. And so I'll always be proud of that, but that doesn't mean that I'm, wanting to stop there. Doesn't mean that I want to leave the sport with my 1 cup and go home and tell my grandkids about it for the next 40, 50 years, however long I have to live. I'd rather tell them about 2 than 1. But the reality is a championship is much bigger than a driver. They put the driver's name on the trophy. But I've never seen a driver win a championship. I've seen a lot of damn good teams win championships. I've never seen a driver win a championship. And I think what gets caught up in all that is the mentality oftentimes that, you're only as good as your last race, only as good as your last, few weeks. And the last 2 or 3 weeks have not been as strong as I'd like them to be as a team. We went out and kicked some serious butt at Loud, New Hampshire. I was really proud of that. But we weren't as strong as I'd hoped we'd be at, Daytona and Dover. And I think there's moments where, as a team, sometimes people reflect on that a little deeper than is needed, not just as a team, but media. And you have to remind yourselves that what you're capable of. And sometimes the easiest way to remind yourself what you're capable of is, in my mind, eliminating the fears of what you're not capable of. And so I guess when I think why not us is my way of saying, give me a legit reason why we can't win this championship right now. And we'll come up with it.